Let's go! It's time for the next update in Brawl Stars, and I think it might be one of the biggest ones yet. Brawl Talk is coming tomorrow at 4 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll have a video coming out covering everything you need to know about that video as soon as Brawl Talk is out. If you don't know what time zone that is for you, link down below to convert it to your time zone. But why wait for that? Let's go over what we think the new brawler is going to be and what the heck are gadgets? Brawl Stars.
I got one question for you. What are those? What are those?
Now, we do already know some details about what's coming in the next update, but I only want to go over new information in this video. So if you want all that other stuff, I'll put a link down below to the video I did covering all that. Now, why do I think this is potentially one of the biggest updates we've ever had for Brawl Stars? Well, first off, two main reasons. I mean, one, it's been a long time since the last update, obviously, and they've had a lot of time, hopefully, to work on the next update, and hopefully they weren't just slacking up, you know, and enjoying some time off. Although, admittedly, they do deserve it, so maybe they were. But the other reason is if you try to click play on the Brawl Talk, you can actually see how long it is, and it's 3 minutes and 46 seconds, which, if you compare it to all the other Brawl Talks, that's the second longest Brawl Talk we've had since Brawl Stars has gone global. So there must be a lot of stuff to cover in that Brawl Talk video. So I think we're in store for a really big update. Now, from the thumbnail of the Brawl Talk video, you can actually see that, of course, or presumably, there's a new brawler coming, and they showed gadgets, I guess, which are those 3 green things. And in the new Brawl, you can kind of see what that new brawler is actually if you look really closely. But first, let's go over the gadgets and what they actually are. I don't know about you guys, but the first time I saw gadgets, I thought of Inspector Gadget. Will they potentially be sort of mechanical things that you use on brawlers to give you like an extra attack or something? Maybe it's a new weapon for each brawler. I mean, think about it. Here's my first initial thought when you think of something like gadgets, and especially with those icons that they have. I mean, they are icons, so maybe is it an icon for every single brawler, giving each brawler a gadget? Or is it going to be something like on game mode, sort of like an event modifier, and maybe on each map there's a gadget that you can pick up and use for your brawler or for your team or something like that? Or maybe it's even something else that we haven't even thought of that's just completely new for Brawl Stars. Now, I made a tweet about it, and of course you guys were quick to give your own ideas on what you thought gadgets could be. Real Canadian said they better be something else in game that you can activate besides a super button. That would be pretty crazy, having another completely button in the game with gadgets. But how would that work? And is there even space for that? I mean, Tootie already said, please no, it's already hard enough just having 3 joysticks covering half the screen on an iPhone 7. All right, that's a fair point. So maybe it's not, but what if it was? I mean, real quick, just look at the icons. To me, they honestly kind of look more like modifiers than more like something you could use in-game, but it's hard to dismiss the idea as a possibility. I mean, first of all, look at the Mr. P one. I mean, presumably it's Mr. P. It looks exactly like a porter robot, right? And it has little electric signals coming out of it, so maybe it's changing how the porters interact, potentially. Maybe they get stronger. I'm not quite sure, because if it's something with the porters, what would you do to make them better? Well, you could give them more, better stats, right? Higher health or more damage. Could you really change how the porters interact with other people? They already chased the closest thing. I'm not quite sure what else they could do in that regard. But then going on, I mean, another one looks like the bow sort of hat, I guess he wears. I don't know if that's what you call it, but it basically does. It looks like the hat, but it kind of looks like a tiki sort of thing you might see. And what the heck does that even mean? What is a tiki symbol or totem gonna do for bow? I mean, this is where it sort of seems maybe like more of a modifier, in my opinion, kind of thing. But maybe you could place a tiki in some way, or maybe he puts on a tiki mask, and then he can do extra abilities or something. But then the third one, I mean, it's grass, and then there's a healing icon. That could almost be for anyone. It doesn't have any brawler specific object or icon on there. the one brawler is like Rosa has the healing star power where she heals on grass, but would you really give her another thing on top of that to have more healing on grass? I mean, it does seem something sort of like extra health on grass.
Hello and welcome to Brawl Talk. Happy 2020.
And a happy Lunar New Year.
We have a brand new environment, a new brawler, skins, and so much more coming at you in this update. First things first, let's talk about the new environment. It is an arcade, and clearly this is most likely where 8-Bit is from, if you hadn't guessed.
The arcade takes inspiration from Japan, Korea, and China. And yeah, as Ryan said, it's an environment where some of our brawlers are at home.
In addition, coming in this update, we have a new brawler. His name is Mr. P. He's an amazing brawler. His
Here's Johnny. Yikes. Do it. Do it. Come on.
What are you doing?
Nope. 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 Try! Triple kill!
Yeah, boy!
Robo bitch.
Do it! Just do it!
Switch!
Hello!
Run, bitch! Run!
Why are you running? Why are you running?
Bye, have a great time.
That's not fair.
Easy!
Yeah, boy.
Don't you dare touch me! Stand back! Whoa, whoa, whoa!
Oh, too bad.
Stop!
What did you say, nigga? Nope.
Wait a minute.
Shut up!
Really, nigga?
I'm joking!
Boom! Oh my god!
Thank you! I'm fast as fuck, boy. Thank you! I can't believe you've done this.
Invisible!
I don't think so. Nope.
Get run away from me!
Primo! Run!
Hello!
Why you bullying me?
Sorry.
Go, go, go!
bitch.
Get out of here!
Nope.
Catch a bit!
Oh shit. Here we go again.
Nice. Nope, nope, nope.
I want to die.
What are you doing?
The box goes boom! Are you kidding me? Huh?
Holy Jesus. What is that? What the fuck is that?
Perfect.
Sing! Yeah!
Nope. Nope. I'm going to rape you!
Surprise.
Be gone!
Are you recording, Crystal?
Creatures of the night! No! God! No!
The fuck?
Easy!
Get out of here!
Oh, come on, man. Are you kidding me?
Nope. Nope.
What's up, f***ers?
Prima punch! Bunch on punch!
I want to die.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine.
Help me! Help me!
Sing!
Me.
Covered in ink and bleach. Cross out the ones who heard my cry.
No time to explain! Go!
Someone normal. What is this place?
Well, you got a vest-wearing cactus, grave-digging bats, and a killer biker crow.
Oh, and if you stop to explain, you're a goner.
Okay.
And now, time for my final trick. Magic.
Wait, Franklin! Do you not consider me a friend? I am Mortis, the bringer of bats, not the doer of dishes. Frank, what do you think, hat? No hat! One last request. Hat or no hat?
Hey guys, my name is Ryan. I'm a community manager for Brawl Stars at Supercell, and today I have some news. Brawl Stars is going global!
Exactly 1 year ago today, Brawl Stars, the game we all know and love, was finally released into the world. After a year and a half of being in beta and going through huge changes like switching from portrait to landscape, the game was finally ready for a global audience. I'm Kairos Time, and I have been obsessed with Brawl Stars since day number 1 of beta 2.5 years ago, probably even before a lot of you guys knew Brawl Stars even existed. And in this video, we're going to be talking about Brawl Stars' first year and all the big changes that really shaped the game over the past year as a way to celebrate its first year anniversary. Years. December 2018. In early December, Brawl Stars had an update that changed the way that the game looked forever. The maps were made 4 tiles wider, which honestly actually kind of screwed up the game's balance for a long time because, you know, tanks were long. Anyway, there was a whole thing. And the game's graphics were upgraded from 2D to 3D and looked a lot cleaner in preparation for the game's global debut. Keys were renamed to be tokens, bands were renamed to be clubs, boss fight was renamed to be big game, and I honestly still mess up those terms like all the time. And we got a new ticketed event called Boss Fight, which didn't take long for us to find an exploit for it. Look at this! Are you seeing this? Also, let's not forget about the release of Leon, a legendary brawler who was arguably the most OP brawler in the history of the game. If you were lucky enough to unlock Leon, it was like free trophies. Like Supercell was just like, oh, you played a match? Okay, here's trophies. Because you didn't lose. Now, unfortunately, I wasn't so lucky, and it just so happens that my most viewed video on YouTube was of me opening over 500 boxes and not getting him. Supercell. Give him to me. Honestly, I still get depressed watching that video, and I think a lot of you guys could really sympathize with that. Now, Shelly, Bull, Nita, Barley, Dynamite, and Brock all got character remodels, and of course, anyone who played Brawl Stars up through the end of December also got an exclusive Star Shelly skin to celebrate their early access to the game. Obviously, the skin wasn't very rare back then, and it's not like the most rare skin today, but it becomes more and more rare as more time passes. And speaking of rare skins, let's not forget the Brawlade skins that were only available for a limited amount of time. Little Helper Penny, Santa Mike, and Red Nose Nita. By the way, guys, these are very likely coming back in the future Brawladays update. If you watch Frank on Twitter, well, you probably should be doing that regardless. And on December 12th, 2018, Brawl Stars released throughout the world and became Supercell's 5th official global game. Supercell invited me to Finland on the release date, and I actually was able to release the game on iOS in Europe and on Android in the US, and I'm really glad I didn't hit the cancel button, which I literally almost did. Like, my finger slipped and I was like, January 2019. Now, in January 2019, Spike, Darryl, Poco, Colt, and Ricochet all got new character remodels, and additionally, Ricochet was renamed Rico, but mostly we all just called him Thicko. Now, Brawl Ball, which today is voted as people's favorite game mode in the game, went through a couple of changes back then to help get it there, because spawning in Brawl Ball was changed from behind the goal to actually inside the goal, which was a massive improvement for the game mode. Also, they changed it so that kicking the ball consumed an ammo slot, which for some brawlers like Mortis basically made him kind of useless for a really long time until he got some improvements. Now, before this update, there was some grass in Brawl Stars that would actually regrow after 35 seconds, and the economy in Brawl Stars was greatly improved as the max token limit was doubled from 100 to 200, which meant that Rather than having to play every 12 hours or you would lose progression, you could now play just like once every 24 hours and maximize your progression. Also guys, if you were a longtime community member, you probably remember being incredibly disappointed when Brawl Stars removed Life Leech from the game. Now, a lot of you guys probably don't realize this, but teaming in Solo Showdown used to be much worse than it is today, okay? The influx of global players really made a positive impact on that game mode, and at that point, Life Leech was the only solo mode that people wouldn't team in, and its removal made a lot of people pretty disappointed. Supercell said that it was too confusing to new players, which at the time kind of felt like a slap to the face, but more on that later. February 2019. February was all about the Lunar New Year event. We got 3 new limited edition Lunar New Year skins, including Dumpling Darryl, Lion Dance Brock, and Royal Agent Colt, and those have not been available for purchase ever since then, except for one weekend a few months later when Royal Agent Colt was actually available for purchase, but I had to be there. This is also when Gene was released into the game and his super was literally breaking the game. Check this out, so like I can actually... They keep on running right into my attack. Ah! What happened? Whenever Gene would use a super, certain devices would crash and you'd have to reload the game. Now in February, the Play Again button was also added into the game, which really, in my opinion, improved random matchmaking a lot. Also, if that's not enough, Siege was also released into the game at that time, which was a huge deal for 2 big reasons. First is the fact that it was the first new competitive mode ever since Brawl Ball was released a couple of months into beta, except for like Duo Showdown, which was just solo showdown, but you know, you get the idea. Second is the fact that Siege matches were worth double trophies since it lasted much longer than other modes at the time. For a while, pro players would only push in Siege because of how quickly they could push in the mode, and you're very aware that Siege has gone through a lot of changes since then to, well, make it better, I guess. Now, before this point, some of you will remember that there was actually a Robo Rumble exploit where you could take El Primo and jump into a square of walls and the robots would stop moving around you, which would allow you to get the maximum amount of time of 13 minutes and 14 seconds. It was in February that Supercell made some changes that made that a lot harder, and since then, only a few people have been able to claim that 13 minute and 14 second prize, which is, you know, impressive. It's not really a prize, it's just the maximum amount of time, which is impressive. March 2019. Now, we didn't have an update in March, but this is actually when Carl was released, and at the time, he was very underwhelming, like worst brawler in the game because his attack speed was so much slower than it is now. April 2019. Now, this was when we met Rosa for the first time, and for those of you guys that don't remember how OP she was, it even rivaled Leon's, but it felt even worse because Leon was legendary and almost everybody got Rosa. Literally everybody got Rosa because she was a rare brawler, which isn't really that rare. And so the game was flooded with Rosa. And at the time, her super prevented 80% of all incoming damage for 6 seconds, and it recharged super easily, which basically made her unbeatable once she charged her super once. At the end of April, Rosa actually had her own special balance update dedicated to just nerfing her, which to my understanding is the only time the only one brawler has ever been balanced. Literally, Supercell was just like, okay, we gotta make this change. Like, if we can't do anything else, it's gotta happen. Now, April is also when Bo got a character remodel, and there were also a lot of quality of life changes that were put into the game, okay? Dynamic map features like minecarts and springs were introduced into the game. I don't know if I call it that quality of life. Minecarts kind of are still the bane of my existence. The training cave was brought into the game so people could actually test new brawlers and skins without having to actually purchase them. We were finally allowed to change our names in-game with gems, and we could even choose to recolor our name if we wanted to. We could spectate high-level matches with Brawl TV, and whether you were in an organized team or playing with randoms was finally factored into matchmaking, which greatly improved the average player's experience for those of us that, you know, play with randoms the majority of the time. Before then, if you played with randoms, you were very likely to face off against people who had organized team comps, and you were almost always at a disadvantage. And this change really improved that. May 2019. Now, many of you guys will remember that May was the month of the Retropolis update. It came with a new environment, 3 Retropolis skins, and BB, who at the time was slightly on the strong side because of how fast she could run with her star power, and slightly on the weak side if you were a free-to-play player and didn't have her star power. Now, the Retropolis update was the first time that a lot of my theories regarding like the environments in the game and the characters being somehow tied together actually got some proof for that. And because of that, I was able to actually guess a lot of the things that would be coming in future updates, which, if you guys are watching my channel frequently, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And of course, let's not forget about BB's bubblegum challenge.
Oh, no! Oh no! My computer!